Hello again, I'm Matthew from thewetpen.com, and those of you who follow my channel might remember that a month or two ago I made a video about this beautiful ebonite pen, the diamond cap, from the Korean pen company Eureka. And I loved the pattern with all of the facets on this cap, although the pen had more to offer than that alone. But just days after publishing that video, I ran across this pen, and with the similarities in design, I just couldn't help myself. In this case, it's an aluminum alloy pen with both the cap and the body machined with a similar pattern of gorgeous facets that catch the light as you move the pen. At the same time, I bought this blue, sort of teal blue pen that I showed you in one of the Inkvent videos. I like the color, but I really love this twisting design and how it catches the light. Both of these pens are Hongdian N11s, and both of these designs are available in blue, green, and a silvery bare aluminum color that has gold-plated hardware instead. Both of these colors come with a dark-toned hardware that's not black exactly, but a sort of a glossy, dark gunmetal color. The clip is a pretty standard one, functional but with no branding or decoration, and it's the same on both pens. At the bottom of the cap, there's a wide band with a knurled center ring, and on the front of the ring, it says LT Hongdian, and on the back it has the model number N11. If you look closely, you can see that this pen shares something else with the Eureka ebonite pen. It has this fine surface pattern of tooling marks that gives it a matte finish. The top finial on the cap and the smaller cap on the opposite end of the pen are made of the same shiny metallic gray material, and they're just smooth and slightly rounded with no logos or branding as well. I really love the design of this blue twist model, but there's one oddity that might bother some people. Because this pen has strong diagonal body lines, we end up with a bit of an optical illusion that makes the clip look like it's not straight on the cap and parallel with the body of the pen. It caught me off guard a couple of times when I first got the pen, but I got used to it and I don't really see it anymore. I suppose it's possible that nobody else will and it was just my own general weirdness, but even when I did notice it, it didn't really bother me, so it's not a big deal as far as I'm concerned. Of course, that's not an issue at all on the diamond design pen. Anyway, the cap on this pen unscrews in just beyond 1/2 turn, which is nice and quick. And since the threads are metal, I think that's just about perfect. The grip section is on the short side, but it's comfortable for me, and it has a significant flare at the nib end. I suspect that this is the sort of grip material that some people will avoid because they think it'll be slippery, but I haven't had any problems with that at all. Maybe it's because the grip is short enough that I'm already holding it down where it starts to flare out, but it also just doesn't really feel slippery to me. The nib is a common Hongdian number 6 sized nib, but as you can see, it has a black finish to match the pen's hardware. Unfortunately, when I was buying these pens, they were only available with either fine or extra fine nibs. That might still be the case, and I generally prefer broader nibs. You can see the F on this nib here, that shows that I ordered the fine. And the feed is a plastic one, but it has a slightly different rounded shape than the typical Chinese ones. At the same time that I ordered the N11 pens, I also ordered a set of 3 Hongdian medium nib units, which look like this. They're not black, but they do look really nice, and because they're sold as nib units rather than loose nibs, it's quick and easy to switch out nibs whenever you feel like it. I bought these nib units and the pens from the Easy Buy shop on Etsy, which was the only place that the pens were available at the time, but the pens can now be found directly on AliExpress and probably other places like Amazon, but I'll put some links below anyway. The feeds on these medium nib units are the typical Chinese plastic ones, which is a little odd, but of course they work just fine. In the hand, these pens are long enough that they don't require the cap to be posted to be comfortable. I will admit that the edges of these facets on the twist model do take a little bit of getting used to, but to me, I like the look of them enough that it's worth it anyway. The grip itself is comfortable, and the cap threads are so smooth that you don't even feel them. I have no problem with the comfort of the grip. And I was very happy to discover that despite the odd shape of the pen, the cap does post deeply and securely, and writing with the cap posted feels good too. The balance is just fine. Now, if I unscrew the section, you can see that this is a cartridge converter pen, and you can see that there's a big O-ring in between the body and the section to keep that connection tight and to prevent leaks if the converter comes loose. Although I will say that I really like how tightly the converter fits into these pens. It's nice and secure. The quality of the converter itself is good. There's a metal band around the tip, and that aluminum section between the ink reservoir and the twist mechanism can be unscrewed so that you can easily take it apart for cleaning. So that's all good, but nothing unexpected. Let me just show you how easy it is to switch the nib units. This blue one is inked up, so I'm going to use some plastic to keep my fingers cleaner, but you just unscrew the whole unit from the grip section, then screw in the new nib, and it's as easy as that. Now, let's see how these things write. First, I'll show you the stock fine nib writing on some Clairefontaine paper. The line width is pretty typical for a fine nib, and the flow is pretty good. I'd say that it's slightly on the wet side of average. There is a little bit of feedback, but it's not scratchy. Pretty normal for a fine tip, I'd say. The ink that I'm using here is Diamine Teal, which is a pretty good match for this pen color. And this is on Aerofil paper, which gives me a slightly wider line. And now I'll switch over to the medium nib that I've installed into the green pen. And while the fine nib was okay, these medium nibs are wonderful. Really nice and smooth. They feel great on the page. This ink, incidentally, is a sailor from Kingdom Note in Tokyo called Cicada. Anyway, with this ink, the flow is excellent, and I think that these nibs look really sharp too. Compared to other medium nibs, these are not as broad as Kaigaloo nibs, which are really more like broads. These are much more like standard Jowo medium nibs. I know that not everybody likes metal fountain pens. Some people prefer the weight or the feel of various plastics, but I'm a big fan of metal pens. So these ones have very quickly become some of my favorites. Because they're aluminum alloy pens, they're not as heavy as some metal pens that are machined brass or other heavy metals. These ones weigh about 35 grams each, which is about the same as my Ebonite Nautilus. A Jinhao X159 weighs about 27-28 grams, and while that is a significant difference, it is still only 8 grams, the weight of a €2 coin, or an American quarter and dime. Not a problem for someone with hands of my size at least, but your mileage may vary. Actually, if you're one of those people who really prefer plastic pens to metal, I'd be very curious to hear why that is and your feelings on the subject in general. So let me know down in the comment section. I admit that I also do really like the feel of other materials like ebonite. Anyway, beyond the weight, these are very much common medium-sized pens. They're just a little bit longer than a Lamy All-Star or a TWSBI Eco, and they're slightly shorter than these Narwhal pens. This is a Classic and an Ebonite Nautilus. The twist design of this Hongdian N11 reminds me a lot of the Pen BBS 380, which I never managed to buy when they were commonly available a few years ago, but they also generally cost $50 to $60, while the Hongdian N11 costs $29 on AliExpress. I still want to buy one of the blue ones in the diamond pattern, so I hope they don't stay sold out forever. And that's it. My next video is one that I had intended to publish at the end of November, but I had some delays and then Inkvent, so I'm pretty excited about getting it out later this week. So, if you're not already subscribed to my channel, this is a good time to do it. And of course, if you enjoy videos like this one, don't forget about that like button down there. It's a big help to small channels like this one. Stay safe out there, everyone, and enjoy your fountain pens and ink. I'll see you soon.